Hello, this is J.N.S. and happy Friday. And so we are doing a esoteric dive into like the philosophical aspects of what we determine truth as Black Americans. And so I actually pre-recorded a presentation that I'm going to actually show you guys, but this right here is live. But we're talking about like the criteria for which we determine what is the truth. And so I was studying our community as a sociologist for like for a minute. And I pretty much was hearing us say this term, the truth needs no proof. So I was hearing a lot of Black Americans say that, particularly in certain communities, especially online. But like this saying that the truth needs no proof. I thought it was so deep. And what I took that to mean is that when something is true, it's self-evident. It's self-evident because of its objectivity, perhaps its evidence, perhaps it's um, a very logical, whatever the meaning behind the proof needs no truth, you know, means for Black Americans on an individual level. I decided to study that from like I wanted to do a deep dive on what that actually means, and so I came up with some criteria that we use as Black Americans to determine truth. And so we're going to just do a deep dive into that criteria. And so I'll play the presentation, but I'll give you the criteria right now. One thing that I noticed is that we use evidentialism, causality, and sacred mathematics to determine what is truth. It doesn't need to meet all three criteria, but normally once we decide to lend credence to something, it's based on those criteria. So it's just something that I noticed that we as a community have been doing. And the reason why we would even cover something like this, like why would that even be important, was because we are in a different paradigm, meaning in terms of the structural aspects of power are shifting. I know that there's a lot of residual energy of a stratified system that we can still feel and see, as far as like being on like 3 dimension. But I know that there's a paradigm shift in terms of the governance and the structural aspects of this entire system on a global level. And so when we think about power shifts and when we think about like who's going to be up next to come up with their own systems, who's going to be next to like run the system, we have to consider like what type of what type of narrative or what type of structure are we going to use for that governance. And so I obviously knowing our people, we always talk about like speaking truth to power and the truth needs no proof. So any sort of governance system has to have truth embedded in it. That's just common sense. It has to have truth embedded in it. So that's why we're covering this topic. Okay. And so I will now present the video. It's like an hour and 10 minutes long, but I'm just going to present the video and we will watch together. Wait, I just want to make sure that you guys can hear it. I just want to make sure that you guys can hear it. Yes, I recorded this yesterday and I was just going to like do one of those, Premiere, like have it, how you could automate the playing of the video, but it didn't work out that way. So we have to do it live. Okay, let me play it. Hello, this is J.N.S. and welcome to Esoteric Friday. And so we are going to be covering a very philosophical topic today. Okay, so it's a very esoteric topic, but we're dealing with the nature of truth. And again, it's more of an eschatological discussion. in terms of like the essence of truth. What determines truth? Is truth subjective? Does the truth need proof? And if it does need proof, what should that proof be? So this is a philosophical discussion. It's me. There's something I've been thinking about for a minute. Okay, and like, how do we find the truth? And so obviously I'm not the first person to think of the truth. Like right here on your screen, you see the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy relating to truth. And so there has been a discussion on truth in a philosophical sense for aeons. So there are many theories about truth. We have the correspondence theory of how to determine truth. We have the coherence theory of how to determine truth. And then you have pragmatist theories. You have realism and anti-realism, truth and language, all these different theories, the redundancy theory. So I was looking through all of this, and I was reading through all of this. And to be honest, I have my own theory. Like I want to talk about what I think makes truth, and more of an updated. It's 2024, and like a lot of these theories, are a couple hundred years old, or they're rooted in a specific framework that for me it doesn't quite register. Like the coherence theory, it states that a belief is true only if it is a part of a coherent system of beliefs. And so then we have to talk about like what gets considered coherence. What gets considered coherent in terms of its epistemology? Who determines that? And so that that doesn't quite register with me. Even the pragmatic theory, as far as the practical value truth has, well, practical value is very subjective, and so I want to root this in my culture, the way that my culture views truth as a Black American. And so that's what the theories that I'm going to be talking about today is going to be rooted in. Black American theories on truth. So this is literally a philosophical video on Black American views on truth, our philosophy. And so I am going to curate that. Now, here's the thing. In Black American culture, we'll have, I've always heard a lot of us say the truth needs no proof. The truth needs no proof. That's like a saying that we say, like, okay, the truth needs no motherfucking proof. The truth need no proof, mean that it's something that is so evidential, and it is something that is so, it's rooted in some sort of proof that's already self-evident. So the truth needs no proof is like, well, that it's evident. That's the truth. That means that there's some sort of, by way of saying that, there's some sort of objectivity to it. And so I want to break that down, because we love to say that, and I think it's fascinating. I think it's a beautiful thing to say. Like the first time I've heard, I literally grew up hearing the truth needs no proof. That I heard that in my culture from Black Americans. And so I'm like, I was thinking about that. I'm like, we need to really break that down. We really need to break that down when we say the truth needs no proof. And what are we saying when we say that? Because on some element of our thinking, one can say that truth is subjective. But is it subjective? Is truth subjective? The truth needs no proof. Is the proof already embedded in truth? Or does it need proof? Okay, and so how do we find the proof of truth that makes it so evident that it literally needs no proof? This idea of the truth needs no proof. I love that idea. I think it's a brilliant idea. I'm just dissecting it. I'm just doing a philosophical dissecting of a Black American slogan. So, one of the things that I think of when we say the truth needs no proof is that it has to be rooted in some sort of evidentialism. When we think about, like, how do we find truth? You can't do it through certain methods of what is currently being done. So right now, what is considered truth, you know, in terms of our theories, Western theories, and what people believe, that's not truth, that's propaganda, right? And so the way that the public in 2024 finds truth is through utilitarianism, which means the greatest good for the whole, like it's like a utility aspect of that society embraces when it comes to what's considered truth, or like the wisdom of the crowds, or if it's based on numbers, like a large group of people believe something, therefore it must be true. Obviously that's a logical fallacy, but that is the way that society runs today in 2024. That is the opposite of my culture. That is the opposite of what Black Americans think. And so, again, utility is a measure of the satisfaction that a certain person has. And so I want to look at, because utilitarianism is an actual philosophy in itself, and I want to make sure that I'm quoting it right as far as me, of the statement that I'm making. Okay, so the greatest happiness for the greatest number should be the guiding principle of conduct. That's the way we view truth in 2024. Not we, but, you know, society. And with that comes a serious flaw. Okay? Because there are many people that believe in something in the greatest number that produces this greatest happiness for the greatest number at the expense of other people. And it could be non-truth. So, for example, white supremacy. There are many people that justify the systemic racial stratification that is currently in the United States of America. We know that it is a lie, but many people believe it. It's a psychosis. This is something that you'll have a majority of people, you know, let's just break down the population of America. We got about, 318 million people here, I think. Maybe 314 the last time I checked, but 314 million people. Obviously, the majority are in America are Caucasian white. I think you got close to 200 million, maybe 178 million white people last time I checked. So the majority of them that's the greatest number. And then you have about 40 million Black Americans, about 20 million Latino. How many Latinos? 20 or 30 million, and maybe more than that. But nonetheless, we see that this utilitarianism, in terms of even the truth, that truth, the definition of truth gets embedded in. So again, this is what the Western society is doing. I'm not saying it's correct. I'm actually challenging it, because obviously we have this notion of, you know, this idea of white supremacy, which is a complete lie. But there are people, millions and millions of people, that believe, or don't challenge it at least. And if they don't believe it, they're not challenging it in terms of calling out that it's a lie and that it's not truth. And then you have this utilitarianism built into this lie. And then that is what they're lending credence to create this idea of, quote unquote, the truth. And so I'm giving that as an example to say that you can't use the wisdom of the crowd or the wisdom of numbers of people to root the idea of what is considered truth, or what can be the proof of truth when we say the truth needs no proof. We can't use the greatest number. And I'm saying this to Black Americans. I'm giving you the example of how the system of white supremacy is built up on a lie, but millions and millions of people are going along with it as if it is the truth. But that is not the proof of truth, because it is a lie. And we know that it is a lie on every measure when things are all equal. When things are equal, then you start to see different, you start to see that idea of white supremacy unravel on an individual level and anecdotal level, and even historically, of course. And so, again, there are many people who believe in non-truths. There are people that are, that I'll give you another example. Black Americans. Again, this is Esoteric Studies course. that I'm doing right now. So if you guys are looking for something that's a little more entertaining, that is not, this video is very dry, it's very philosophical. I'm just in my bag right now thinking of this shit. Okay, and I just got to get it out. So the next example I want to give you is conspiracy theory, right? Now we know that conspiracy theorists get a bad rap in this country. That is obviously propaganda from, obviously the word conspiracy theory was created by the CIA to discredit someone who was thinking alternative information or who had discovered something that the rest of the brainwashed population didn't discover yet. And so the reason why you can't use the greatest number to determine your proof, to determine truth, is because look at what happened with a lot of the conspiracy theorists. We get ragged on by the masses only to be proven true at the end. So large groups of people do not determine the truth. They determine propaganda. They purport lies as truth, or they purport lies for propaganda or lies for mind control. And in Western society, the way the current American system is running is that they are using their litmus test for truth based on greatest number. That is a logical fallacy within itself. You can't say that, because all these people believe it, that means that it's true. That's logical fallacy 101. That's the first. But this is how our society is ran. And so when Black Americans, when we say the truth needs no proof, we are not talking about because the majority of us believe it, that means it's true. Because again, look at the conspiracy. We got ragged on. Conspiracy theorists, we got ragged on for every little thing we called out, only for years later for it to come true. Case in point, the jab. Many of us were screaming from the rooftop about our little conspiracies, about what this stuff was going to do, only for less than 2 years later, less than 3 years later, for everything that we had said 3 years ago when this stuff all rolled out, all of it for it to come true, about its side effects, about things that it was going to be doing to people, about how even the pandemic started. Like, we were conspiracy theorists 3 years ago, and it happens with so many things. It's not even funny. Like, conspiracy theorists, we get ragged on for so many things, only for years later, whether it be 50 years, 20 years, 10 years, only for the shit to be true. And so you can't use the fallacy of utilitarianism or wisdom of crowd. By that I mean, like, not even wisdom of crowd. That's not the right term I want to use. Large numbers, large groups, groupthink. That doesn't determine truth. And I think that that's pretty much something that we can all agree on. The next thing you can't root truth in is power, authority. Okay? Again, you have authoritarian figures that try to state that this is the truth and this is what you must believe. This is the truth, An example of that, we could still go with the white supremacy example, but look at what happens to those who think outside the box. And they'll say it, they'll know it's the truth, they'll speak the truth, and then authority will come down on them. And so you can't say that, well, authority says this, so that makes it true. That's not the proof of truth. Because the truth needs no proof. It means that it's evident. And so now we're looking at, well, what evidence is proof still? But when we say it as a saying, we're saying it like it is so evident. It's self-evident. We realize these truths to be self-evident. That means it's not something you need to question. It's objective. It's not subjective. See, we live in a society where they make truth subjective. Is truth subjective? I mean, I'm willing to entertain it, but we can't state that it's based on power either. As far as an authoritative figure saying, okay, this is what the truth is. This is what you need to believe. This is what you need to think. This is in a textbook. This is what Ivy League school said. This is what a textbook said, so that means it's true. We can't go on that. An example of that is just even our own fucking history as Black Americans. They have not told you. I mean, we didn't even really know that they had, much about the specific slave trade. They was always ragging us down about the transatlantic slave trade. They never talked about the Indian slave trade of the whole tribes getting taken into slavery in certain parts of the South of America. I'm sorry, of the United States of America. Never talked about that. Never talked about the Pacific slave trade of slaves coming from Fiji, slaves coming to America from Australia, Aborigine people. They never talked about the slaves that showed up in Virginia from India, from over in Asia, Dravidians, like in America, in 300 years ago. They got mixed in, and they don't talk about these things. It's available, but as far as like the authority, like the schools, the academia, they're not telling people, these type of things. You have to go and look at it and dig, and then that's why, like, I'll say, like, the Black indigenous in our community, they was getting ragged on for years because they were coming up with this alternative history. They were coming up with the genealogy. They were talking about a different narrative than what is propagated by the authoritative figures via academia, or even what our government tells us. Like, oh, you're African. All this African shit. And that's why there was so much pushback, and there was so much arguing. Like, and to be honest, the Black American indigenous had the superior lens and perspective on this when it came to epistemology, when it came to what is determining knowledge. Well, what determines your knowledge base? What is it rooted in? The creation of new sets of knowledge via, like, relying more on your genealogy to tell you your history versus a textbook. That was quite genius. And this was regular grassroots Black Americans that came up with that idea. I observed it as a sociologist. I observed Black Americans doing this, and it was so fascinating because I'm like, that's why to be honest, that's why they got the attacks. The American Indian women, especially, are very powerful, and they're more known to teach. As far as like the and that the groups that were starting to form, the silos that were starting to form itself in, I noticed the attacks that will come on the women that were teaching this alternative, this it's not even alternative, but this other side of history that was not being talked about. And they were being told they were liars, because the truth, they wanted you to think that the truth came from the authority. And so again, Black Americans, when we think about this idea of truth, you notice we're getting so much pushback as a people, as an identity, as ethnicity, because we are calling out that's a lie, or that's not that like we're calling out the fact that the utilitarianism does not determine our truth, aka calling out white supremacy, calling out COINTELPRO, calling out COINTELPRO agents. And what do? They lay their force down and their power down by labeling a lot of us conspiracy theories, Black identity extremists. They lay down, to squash the fact that we call out their lies, that they are purporting as truth. Then on the other aspect of it, you have Black Americans that call out the power structure. Is it legitimate? Is there truth in it? Then we also get squashed that way as well. As we're calling out, we realize, like, okay, these are supposed to be these authoritative figure, the authority that's going to tell us what to believe, what to think. We're going to go to school and, be programmed. And a lot of Black Americans today are questioning that whole paradigm, are like, okay, no, that's not truth. That's not truth. And so that's why I do think that it's cool for us to ponder on philosophical topics such as, well, if the truth needs no proof, how is it becoming self-evident? The only way the truth needs no proof is through a certain set of criteria. And as a Black American, I think we need to sit and carve that out, because when we come up with these clever ideas, these ideas are ingenious. They are ingenious for one. For, like, again, I've heard Black Americans, they were having it in their title. They said the truth needs no proof. They were putting it all in their bio feed. The truth needs no proof. And I'm talking about as a sociologist. I witnessed this going back. So I'm like, seeing us say this, that means we think that is self-evident. Like, it's the truth is the truth. That's it. But self-evidence means that evidence. So with me just being Kylie J.N.S, be my own little world. Y'all know I'll be my own little world, my own little dimension. I'm thinking, well, what could that evidence be? And so I was really thinking about that. So I come with some cool ideas, as far as like carving out the, this neo 2024 and beyond Black American philosophical ontological discussion on our definition of truth. When we say the truth needs no proof, and the evidence of truth, because apparently we don't really think that truth is subjective. So I would say, how do we determine that this idea of the truth needs no proof would be through 3 criteria that we're going to talk about today. 3 criteria. And I think it's cool. I think you guys are going to like it. Or, again, I wish I had like a group of us that that's why I started the Nakhti Queen Mothership Order. It's a high society of intellectuals, of those that they're seeking their enlightenment, that are seeking wisdom, love, a brotherhood and a sisterhood that is rooted in the collective guidance of humanity in the universal sense, the alignment with the cosmos, and so that's what the Nakhti Queen Mothership is about, like the Nakhti Queen Mothership Order. I have a book on it called Nakhti Queen Mothership Order, and it is an esoteric order, not secret though. It's a high society, which means that what I would like to do is I want to have conversations just like this with actual Black Americans talking about philosophy, esoteric sciences, spirituality. It could be hoodoo, it could be metaphysics, it could be our culture, history, those type of things where we are discussing how do we propel our IPUs in terms of our mentalism on this planet, our will on this planet, for a greater infrastructure, for a greater society, for a greater quality of life for us. So that's what Nakhti Queen Mothership is, the order. The Nakhti Queen Mothership enterprise architecture is a different thing. That's more of a physical, enterprise, something that's built out in terms of intentional communities and more so, governance. But that's a governance system. But the Nakhti Queen Mothership Order is more so, again, it's metaphysics. It's a high society for those that are like-minded to ponder on really cool ideas relating to the collation of our history, the collation of our culture, our own repository of knowledge in terms of our own DAOs, our own universities, our own scholarship, our own theories, those type of things, our own magic systems, spiritual systems. Like I have the Nakhti philosophy as a spiritual system. I have my own mudras, my own that's the type of time I'm on, and so I would like to connect with other people that are on that type of time. But nonetheless, what we're going to discuss as Black Americans is the criteria for truth needs no proof. Rather, because again, we kind of do things in a spiral way, but rather, what is the proof of truth? What is the evidence that makes that? What is the evidence that makes it self-evident that the truth needs no proof? Simple terms as, what is the proof of truth? Because you say the truth needs no proof because it's self-evident, but what is that evidence? That's what we're discussing. Okay, we get to the same, it's like a spiral. But anyways, the criteria for me would be evidentialism, physical causation, and then obviously the sacred mathematics. That is a criteria that determines truth for the Black American. Okay. And so you may say, no, the truth is, I mean, I'm talking about my culture. And again, I would like to write, I would probably write a nice little pamphlet or something for the Nakhti Queen Mothership Order. Just some of the ideas that we like to discuss and put out there. But I am emphatically saying that the self-evidence for truth, where it becomes objective, in a sense, would be your evidentialism, your physical causation, and your sacred geometry or mathematics. That, to me, is what would be the proof or the evidence for a truth. That's how you would determine if something is true. That is how the statement, the truth needs no proof, comes to life. Through evidentialism, physical causation, and sacred geometry or sacred mathematics. You can say mathematics, sacred mathematics, but I'm going more of sacred mathematics because we're going to get into nature. But I'm now going to explain what each of these mean. And so, obviously on your screen, we have evidentialism right here. And so, this is epistemology, and epistemology just means like, how do you know what you know? How do you know what you know to be true? Like, how do you know it? How do you know it? Where does it rooted in? So that evidentialism is a thesis that states that you are justified to believe something if and only that person has evidence which supports that belief. Okay, so that's pretty a simple. That's a pretty simple one to grasp. Okay, do you have the evidence to believe that it's true? What is the justification? So, obviously this comes into like the idea of the faith-based beliefs. There'd be a scuttlebutt or something that would be at odds with evidentialism, but at the same time, remember you have sacred geometry. These are one of the three criterias to determine truth. And so, when we're talking about truth, you have to have evidence. You have to have some type of evidence to justify it. That's the first one. Evidentialism. Pretty simple. Nothing that is something that can't be, it's not rocket science. I'm trying to look for some examples. I was trying to look for some examples for you guys. Because if you don't have if you don't have the evidence to justify the truth, then it becomes speculative or it's not true. Maybe. Because again, this is just one of the criteria. The second criteria is physical causation. Okay? And so physical causation is the relation between cause and effect. Physical interference propagated by some type of force. So that could be look at it as momentum, as physical causation. Okay, so it involves a causal pathway that transmutes a force or exchange. Exchanges a conserved physical quantity. So here's some examples of physical causation. Throwing a rock through a window. Okay, if you throw a rock through the window, it's going to break. So you have the rock's trajectory and momentum linking to the throwing, and then the window breaking. So that's an exchange of momentum. So physical causation relates to an exchange of momentum. Here's another one: lighting a match to start a forest fire. If you light that match, the effect, the cause would be that it will cause the forest to burn. You light a match to start a forest fire. Okay, so if you light this match, the next event that follows is it causes the forest to burn. So it's a relationship between cause and effect. That also can determine what's true. Here's another one: rolling a spear down a slope. The force of gravity accelerating the spear is assumed to be the cause of its velocity. So that one I don't think is a good example of physical causation, that last one. So let's look right here. I'm trying to look for something to causality. That's the only one that I see. That's more like physics, but I didn't really want to get into that one. So again, we have cause and effect determines the truth. That's the second criteria. Yep. If you jump off of a building, when you go down to the bottom, it's splat. Unfortunately, you may die. You most likely will die. Oh, that's true. That could be considered true. if you, you know, give me any example. You guys get the point. So we have cause and effect. Then we have evidentialism. And then the last one we have sacred geometry. Now this is where it gets more into the metaphysics. Another thing is, physical causation could get into metaphysics too, because like we think about like dowsing. Dowsing is a real phenomenon. It goes back to the days of Egypt with pendulums, in terms of finding power spots, in terms of even guessing certain things. I would say like metaphysics, in terms of like, for those that are like clairvoyant, psychic, remote viewing, I would say that will fall under physical causation too, but only if there's if the cause and effect can be proven. So for instance, say like I know sometimes like when people would go missing, the FBI would use clairvoyance or pendulums. Sometimes people that can use pendulums with dowsing to pinpoint locations of people. And so if they get that location correct, or that situation comes to pass, or they actually find that person, then that's physical causation. It's metaphysical causation, rather. It's not physical, it's metaphysical causation. And so I do think that the metaphysical causation could fall under the physical causation category as far as cause and effect. Now, if they don't get it right, then it's not true. Like when I do my weekly tarot videos, and we every week, every time we do the readings, something that the following week it happens, and it's not just like a small little, like it'll be something major. Like when I said it would be some type of government benefit glitch relating to some type of payment, and then 3 days later, it was a glitch that affected 500,000 people, where we had to go to food banks. It was a government benefit payment. The child care benefit payment didn't go through. Literally 3 days later. That's metaphysical causation. Okay. Now, if it didn't come true, then it was not true. But it came true, so it's true. If I'm saying a week before something happens and then it happens, then it's true. Then that made it true. Metaphysical causation gets a little spooky, because now we're talking about like quantum physics, and now we're like, okay, probability distribution science. It's like, it's like quantum entanglement. It's like, whoa, like these things. That's what Einstein used to call quantum entanglement. It's really, really spooky, because it's like that gets creepy for people, not for me, but for people that realize. I know that there are people that maybe, I'm not saying this a lot, but I know that there's probably a neuroscience. I know that there's neuroscientists that, so like on my Twitter page, that follow me, like neuroscience people with PhDs in neuroscience, or they're studying like metaphysics and shit. They'll follow my Twitter, because I know that they have on some level probably looked at something I put out or work that I've done, and I think they're probably curious as to like that phenomenon, like the idea of the metaphysical realm. How someone, like on a weekly basis, I do our weekly tarot video, and then the following week something of that comes true, and we're talking about something major, like the president with the president of Iran dying. Now, we didn't say president of Iran dying. Obviously, we just knew that there was some sort of religious figure that was involved with politics, something with traveling. He died in an airplane crash, and my words verbatim was some type of pastor that runs for president. So yeah, but I was talking like it's like past, time, and present. The way I say it, he was already a religious cleric as far as a religious figure, but he was already the president. So I was thinking, again, when you think of time, present, and future, all of that is not existent in the quantum realm, or in the realm of the collective unconscious. And so sometimes it's like when I do the tarot reading, I'm seeing things. And something could have already happened, but I remember literally saying there's a pastor that becomes the president, that dies by traveling, but he wasn't a pastor. I thought it related to Christianity, but it was still in the Abrahamic. He was Muslim though. He was a Muslim religious cleric, big religious figure. Then became president of Iran, and then he died in an airplane crash. We knew somebody was going to die. It was relating to some type of politics or president or religious figure. And the president of Iran is a religious figure. So that had happened literally 4 days later. Not even 4 days later, 3 days later. And so again, it's that spookiness. But if any event that it doesn't come true, then it's not true. But when it does come true, then that fits the category of metaphysical causation, under physical causation. Yeah, I think that it doesn't, I don't think we need to even put a meta on it. It's still causality. Maybe we should just call it causality. And you have physical causality and you have metaphysical causality. Yeah, I think we should just use causality. So that's the second criteria. Let's change it from physical causation to causality. Yep, causality and evidentialism. Because psychic phenomena is real. And so we can't just rely on straight evidentialism. If I can prove on a weekly basis that I can see things a week before they happen, and it's been accurate. Now, I'm not saying everything is accurate, and I'm not saying I know every detail. Now, it's not about that, but it's details enough to where it's like, okay, that actually happened. Like, what are the chances? Like the week that I said that there would be something huge in the investment world, that's following that same week, Jim Simon dies. Like literally, the guy, the creator of quantitative, he changed the stock market. The dude changed the stock market. Like these videos are up. Obviously, it's shadow banned because I don't think the government wants people to know about these type of things and topics, and none of the shit that I just talk about. I talk about very esoteric science. I talk about very deep stuff, and I think the metaphysical stuff might have freaked them out because that's eerily accurate on a weekly basis. I knew it was something going to be big in the investment world, finance world, and then Jim Simon dies. What was his name? James Simon or Jim Simon. Let me make sure I get his name right. I think it was Jim Simmons, or was it Jim Simmons? I don't be pronouncing the dude's name wrong. Yeah, I think his name is Jim Simons. But he was huge in the investment world. He was the 51st richest person in the world, $31 billion, but through investments. He was a hedge fund manager. Okay, but his knowledge of mathematics is what really propelled him in the investment world in terms of quants. When we talk about the quants and the mathematical models and algorithms to make investment gains from market inefficiencies, he mastered that in the investment world. There's not one person in the investment world that doesn't know who this person is. And so I drill this home to say that we have to take into account the metaphysical aspect of these things, the quantum aspect of things, this idea that there are units of light that have packets of information and data that can be accessed and give you information on the past, present, and future at the same time. They can give you information on the past, present, and future. We have to accept that. That's why I'm going to say that for Black Americans. And again, you'll have people that just be saying that they can do they're a metaphysician, or they can do what I'm talking about, this probability distribution, and they'll get it all fucked up. And even people that actually can do it, they may not get it all right all the time, and that's okay. But in the event that it does come to pass, in the event that it does come true, then it's truth. So first criteria, evidentialism. Second criteria, causality. Physical causality and metaphysical causality. That is your second criteria for determining the evidence of truth. Now, this one is the cool one that I think you guys are going to like the most, because I know my people, and I know you guys like this type shit. The last one is sacred geometry, or mathematics, sacred math. Okay, so we all know there are mathematical principles and patterns in geometric shapes and proportions. A lot of that is found in nature. Okay, and so certain measurements that are constant, obviously golden ratio, pi 3.14. Like pi, I think the golden ratio is 1.68. Believe it or not, a lot of they have this thing called Fibonacci indicator for technical analysis in the stock market. A lot of people use that golden ratio, that 1.68%, or they'll use that Fibonacci to make a decision on when to get in to enter into a trade in the stock market. I'm pretty sure you guys know that. I mean, I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but that's real shit. Like, you can use this Fibonacci. You guys know about Fibonacci. Let's actually look a little bit of it up. There is a Fibonacci sequence. Let's look at it together. So here we go. So each number is equal to the sum of the preceding two numbers. You guys know Fibonacci sequence and whatnot. But this sequence can be found throughout nature. Seashells, flowers, pine cone, all different types of shit. The galaxy. You see it right here. This Fibonacci spirals. Spirals are very important. Spirals are so feminine. Fibonacci is so feminine. And that's the energy that we're moving into, the divine feminine. And so, believe it or not, spirals are becoming very important. You're going to see that spirals become very important. It's how we're writing our whole new code. It's not a binary code anymore. It's a spiral code. It's not Fibonacci code, because we are hiding that from humanity at this time, because you guys, your planet is fucked up and we got to fix some things before you can get that information, to be honest. But just to know that the codes are going to be written in spirals. The codes have been written in spirals in a mathematical sense, but we're creating a new mathematical sequence, and that we're not giving out to you yet. When I say we, I'm talking about my adjutants, my order, me as Kali, J.N.S, Jenny, and Stanley, and my order. And I will not be given. Well, we won't go into detail on that. But yes, you guys, we're still going to be doing spirals, but we're doing a new sequence number. This is what God showed me. And we are not to give that number sequence out yet. But this is some cool shit. But anyways, you guys get the point. Fibonacci. This is what we will call sacred geometry. Now, this is not the only one. We obviously know we have, or look at this. You guys are very much familiar with the pi. 3.14159, blah, 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 blah. It never ends, right? And so, when we talk about, like, what is the last criteria to determine truth? When we say the truth needs no proof, what made it so self-evident? It has to be what? The sacred mathematics of nature. It has to be what? Causality and evidentialism. One of the three. And it had to be all three. And remember, with causality, you have physical causality and metaphysical causality. But for sacred geometry, mathematics, I think that's something that you guys will like a lot. So now we, ancient architects, they build a lot of things using sacred geometry, whether that be what is this? The way that that you say the way the pyramids are built, the way even sacred spots like certain cathedrals, obviously, them domes that you see on cathedrals, those are very much methodical, well thought out infrastructures. They're not just there to it's based on a math, a very specific math. Okay, and I actually want to get this information because it's like biogeometry. Biogeometry is real, and so pretty much that's the geometry that affects the qualitative states around you, the electromagnetic state around you. I want to get this for you. This is really cool shit. Because sacred geometry does include biogeometry. It does include stone masonry. The way you build things. Okay. Just want to make sure I'm getting the here's another aspect of sacred mathematics, the ley lines. That's the word I was looking for. I was having to research it. Now, when we used to think about like ancient town planning, you would have ley centers, certain lines, And the Chinese will call them dragon currents, and then like Aborigines will call them dream paths. And so those are certain points on the planet, certain centers of the points that would create like powerful energy vortexes. And it will be based off of sacred geometry. It will be based off of a math. Okay, based on math. Now, back in the day, like it was known that every town, like especially in ancient Egypt, Greece and Rome copied Egypt, of course, but they would always, at every town planning, we talk serious town planning. And this is good for those that, like one day we'll build our Nakhti Queen Mothership intentional communities, we'll build that governance. When you talk about town planning, you have to do it based off of the biogeometry. So yes, you have measurements, the actual mathematics, but then you have to combine it with the electromagnetic energy, and that's how you get biogeometry. Okay, and that is still under sacred geometry, sacred mathematics. And this right here kind of leads into the other areas. Now, I'm getting a little tangential, but when we talk about like our town plannings, they will always have like a spot, two main paths crossing at the right angles, and a central power spot called Cardo and Ducamanis. Every town has that, whether it in obviously Europe copy. They would have these points to create certain power spots. Okay. And so you see that like ancient architects use that. So you see it right here. They use geometric principles to their structures, many completely isolated from each other. Obviously, the Stonehenge. Stonehenge is very much mathematical, but it's also very energetic because they built it based. They created a vortex using math to supercharge the electromagnetic energy of that area. This is what you do with town planning. And so, obviously, this we're talking about the criteria. I think it's very solid. I say this to you. I'm giving you this information so that it's like, oh, that's a tangent. That has nothing to do with truth. Well, it's good evidence. This I think will suffice. That it should be the criteria that we use to determine truth. Sacred geometry. I mean, if you could build buildings and use it for, you can see it in nature. Obviously, look at this. The Nutella shell is 450 million years. So we can use sacred mathematics to determine our truths. So here we have the golden ratio. The golden ratio of mathematical proportion is 1.6.1830339 to infinity. Okay. So it's known as the divine proportion. Okay. So the golden ratio is found by dividing a line. Interesting. I didn't know that. But I do have to say, let's see what this says. Supposedly, ready for all religions to melt together. This ratio results in focusing on the universal energy, prana, at a particular point, which helps in rejuvenation of life, which has been associated with the rejuvenation or rising of Christ. That's interesting. But I do have to say, like in the stock market, I be seeing them traders, they pull out that Fibonacci, and they use that golden ratio, that 1.6, then they determine, or maybe the other, I think it's like 0.50, I think it's the other one, the 50% mark. But anyways, I do know they use this 1.168, and they'll time their entry in. They'll time their entry in based off of the Fibonacci to make them some damn money. Okay, and so when we talk about like the sacred geometries or sacred mathematics, I think that is a good criteria for us to use to determine our truth. Now, I just showed you Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. The way they're determining truth is through the correspondence theory. You have the correspondence theory, the coherence theory, pragmatist theory, Tarski's theory, realism, anti-realism. All these different, they have their way of doing it. And so what the Nakhti theory of truth, we are using as Black Americans, evidentialism, causality, and sacred mathematics. That's what we use to determine our truths. It can be any type of truth. It has to be sacred geometry. Now, when we get into causality, that's kind of physics. That relates more to physics. So now you have quantum physics, you have quantum mechanics. Now you got Terrence Howard. He says 1 times 1 equals 2. I'm sorry, yeah, that's what he said. 1 times 1 equals 2. Okay, we're dealing with causality. We're in a room of causality. Now you, Terrence Howard, you got to show us the metaphysical causality, metaphysical causation of what you're talking about. Now, is it relating to your quantum? Is it quantum mechanics that you're into? Because that will fall under the causality. I'm not saying it's a lie. I just need to follow. I need to root that criteria. I need to root what you're saying in the criteria of what we use to determine truth. That's what I'm trying to say. I need you to show me you're a Black American based on these 3 criteria, which I think you got causality and sacred geometry. I think you have sacred mathematics and causality. Those could be 2 of your criteria that we're going to use to determine that it's true. I cannot say that it's a lie, and I cannot say that it's true, because I know for a fact we just broke down how what society considers true is all fucked up. I mean, they talk about white supremacy was true, like how their system is built up on the lie. They talked about men can play in women's sports, and men could be women, and men can give birth and all this crazy shit. All that's their truth, and that don't even make sense. It's not even rooted in anything. But as for Black Americans, our truth, the Nakhti theory of truth, is rooted in evidentialism, causality, and sacred mathematics. So when Terrence Howard is telling us, okay, 1 times 1 equals 2, y'all hadn't given him a chance to explain it. So we got 2 of the criteria that he can root it in. He got causality, which is more of the physics. Now he's most likely going to swing it with the metaphysical way, which I'm willing to entertain. They got to prove it true. And then your second one is your sacred mathematics. He knows math. He knows that sacred geometry. So if he can show us something, because again, when we talk about the irrationality, you do know that pi is irrational, like 3.14 blah, 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 all the way to infinity, just like the golden ratio, all the way to infinity. I wrote in my book, The Alternative Freemasonry, that 0 and infinity is the same thing. Now, if you go and look at a Western society, they say no. I my esoteric studies book, I wrote a chapter on that. I can break that down. Well, now I have to root that in some type of causality. I have to carve that out. Someone was to challenge me on that, or say, "Oh, I want to debate you." Then I would have to come up with my whole framework. I would have to root that in something. I know I can, but I know intuitively that it's 0 infinity is the same thing, and the universe is eyes. But if someone was to challenge me, no, it's not. 0 is nothing. Infinity is what is it? Everything or whatever. Nothing and everything at the same time. That's what perception and non-perception is. That's what equanimity is. As above, so below. And so, I mean, I know I can swing anything. The way my mind works. But when it comes to Terrence Howard telling us that 1 times 1 equals 2, give him that opportunity to show us the proof based off of the criteria that Black Americans use to determine our truth, which would be evidentialism, causality, or sacred mathematics. So I think he's going to use causality because he's more of the quantum physics. And then they may swing it into sacred geometry, sacred mathematics. And I am willing to sit and learn and see what it's about. I'm not going to sit there and write people off like that because we don't understand something. You don't understand it. Oh, that means it's crazy. No, that means you don't fucking understand it. So why don't you sit your ass down and learn something? Maybe you look at let's entertain. Let's see it. And so that's how I see it. Now we have pi. We all knew about pi growing up. I mean, we all learned about it. The spiritual significance of pi, though, we said sacred mathematics, sacred geometry. We got transcendence. So boundless, pi is infinite and boundless nature of spiritual realm. And then we have harmony and balance. So pi is used to calculate the measurement of circles. And the circle is a 0. It also symbolizes balance and harmony, okay? Perfect symmetry and equilibrium found in nature and the universe. Then we have seeking truth. Isn't that something about Black Americans? Didn't we say when we talk about seeking truth, we want to use our sacred mathematics, because the pi symbol encourages us to embark on a journey of seeking truth and understanding. It urges us to question the world around us. This is what Terrence Howard is doing. He's questioning the world around us to explore deeper meanings and to strive for that enlightenment. Okay, so we know that when in nature we see certain numbers and patterns, and it's really cool. And so I do think that is an obvious number of patterns in nature. I do think that is an obvious one that we should use for our criteria to determine truth. Now, when it comes to the metaphysical causality, only certain people would qualify for that. Obviously, your psychics, clairvoyants, remote viewers, people with that gift. Look at this. Math, the 5 stunning ways we see math in the world. Look at the honeycomb. That's a big one. Hexagonal directional patterns. Look at this. What's this one? Seashell. Fibonacci. Plants. Pine cones. Wave patterns. Look at that. And water. Patterns in nature. So this is sacred mathematics. And so, Black Americans, when we think about okay, what we're going to root our truth in, because we got to build a superior system. So here's the thing with you, and you guys will say, okay, you guys know I can be shrewd. They say I have I remember one of my friends told me, you gotta take that stick out your ass. But I'm gonna be real with you, Black Americans. We have to build our systems, whole systems of governance. One day you will do it, whether I'm here or not to see it. And I'm doing these videos because when we're talking about a system of governance, it has to be rooted in truth. And or you want to just go and copy what you see the way the world works now, and you see how fucked up the system is, and you see that it's on its last leg, and you see that it's dying. So when you get your system back, and it will be done under the age of the divine feminine in a matriarchal sense, you can get mad and get all upset and try to, I hate Kali, it is what it is. That is ordained. We're in the age of Saturn. We're in the age of Aquarius. What did you guys think this was going to be? What did you guys possibly think as melanated people that you were going to get? You can get mad, but our systems will be superior on every level: militarily, spiritually, emotionally, sociologically, psychologically, infrastructurally. Now, the only way to do that, though, is through the truth. And so that's why it was very important for us to have this discussion. Very important. I know very few people are going to watch it. I know very fall on deaf ears. You go and watch some other shit. You guys want to be led off a cliff following entertainment, instead of some things that are going to help get your motherfucking ass in power. But, yes, the truth. It has to be sacred geometry. Now we talk about our biogeometry, town building planning. Then we got our causality. You have your physical causation, your cause and effect. And then you have your metaphysical causations. Then you have your evidentialism. What is the evidence? What is the justification? So you have justification. We're dealing with some deep shit. And now when we think about, okay, when we put our societies on, our governance on, you're going to be doing it off of what? Sacred geometry. The circle. That's a divine feminine symbol, by the way. The womb, the spiral is a divine feminine. You're going to be doing these things to build out your enterprise architecture. That is why I created the Nakhti Mothership Part 2. Enterprise Architecture Guide for Rebuilding Black America. Did you guys think I was just doing it for my health? What did you guys think? I got my ass on a fucking watch list doing this type of shit. You thought it was just for fun? What did you guys think? I am dead ass serious. But we're not going to be, when we talk about truth and we're building these systems, you're not going to be going into theirs to go sit at their table to look cute. You know, whether that be sitting with Trump or whatever, Biden, whatever, you go sit, look cute, like Billy Porter had on his moo-moo on, looking cute, the golden nudes, dancing and singing around, kissing Joe Biden's hand. I oughta spank your ass, man. Billy Porter. And I think Billy Porter is so talented. I think he has a beautiful voice. He sings, right? But I'm looking like, what the fuck you got on that moo-moo kissing Joe Biden's hand? So no, we're not doing that as Black Americans. That's a no-no. And we're not just merely going to sit at some table. You want to sit at some table and look motherfucking cute like you just arrived. Black Americans. That's what you want to do. No. You're going to sit your ass. You're going to create that. You're going to be running this shit. Whether I'm here to do it or not. Whether you, I don't, look, it's got to be done. Because that is the prophecy. But if you think you're going to go and turncoat each other, sell each other out, try to, it ain't about a seat at the table. Now we can do a transitional period and start to transition this system onto our system, back to melanated people's system, because that's what needs to be happening right now as we speak. Because obviously we don't have the infrastructure for getting us in the White House for 2024. So we have to wait. We have to build that up. We have to build that capacity up. We have to build that capacity. We don't have that capacity right now. But as far as like Trump getting in there, that's a transitional phase. That's a placeholder phase. So we need to be giving them ideas to set this infrastructure up. So for 2028, 2032, 2036, whatever, when it's our time, we can get in there and do the things we need to do. Because y'all already know there's a shadow government that runs this. Y'all already know that reptilians running this shit. Come on, and Lucifer. Like, that's not a big deal. That whole thing is a whole nother ballpark. I get that. But that still ain't nothing to be afraid of. That ain't gonna stop me from talking the way I motherfucking talk. Not everybody can talk the way I talk. I get that. Everybody can't get on here and be saying the sherm shit I be saying. It be true too. It be dead ass true. That's why I'm so shadow banned. and they be spanking my ass and doing radionics and psychotronics on my ass. And target harassment and fucking with my, because it just is what it is. But that's look. The truth needs no proof. The truth needs no proof. And I'm a metaphysicist. And I'm an esotericist in the metaphysics. I'm clairvoyant. So I can be able to see things and shit gonna happen. I can write out events and shit gonna happen. So what we need to do with the Black American is when we talk about running our governance systems off of the age of divine feminine and the truth, we had to set out that criteria. And that is your criteria, Black American, from the primordial mother. And you could say, oh, here go Kali, she's crazy. No, hell no. I'm giving some good ass game. Who gonna argue that sacred mathematics is not true? Mathematics come on. We always talk about mathematics, proof of logic in mathematics. You have to prove your concepts in mathematics. Come on, they have all types of equations that you have to prove true. Pythagorean theory, what is it? A squared plus b squared equals c squared, and e squared plus e equals mc squared. All this shit. You have to have some proof. And so mathematics is a great criteria. And you're going to be doing town planning. You have to build your own towns. You have to build things. You're going to have to build it off of sacred geometry, biogeometry, with the electromagnetic grid. That's the same thing Benjamin Banneker did. So you can't even try to say, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Like, I always like to try to play on my motherfucking top, the top of a genius. Miss me with that bullshit. The next one is causality. We have physical causality and metaphysical causality. That is your cause and effect. If I throw a rock at your motherfucking ass, a cone, you're going to get a head cone, a big ass knot on your motherfucking head. Boom. That's cause and effect. Okay. I threw this rock, and I said you're going to get a knot on your head. Oh, I threw it. Oh, you got a knot. Oh, that's true. Or a psychic said, oh, it's about to be a big ass power outage next week. Oh, guys, you got to prepare. The power outage is coming. Big ass rainstorm coming. Oh, shit. The power go out. It's true. Or we go with evidentialism. I'm going to take these two these 2 branches. And another branch, oh, I got 3 branches. That's the justification. I see 1 branch, 2 branch, 3 branch. That's evidence. That's evidentialism. I can see it. I can touch it. That's great. That's great criteria for proof. That's great criteria to determine truth. All 3 of them. Pick one, or a combination. So when we're talking about building your damn society, what are you gonna do? You're gonna build it on truth. And what is your criteria for truth? It's not utilitarianism. It's not who's popular. It's not who's, no. It is evidentialism, causality, and sacred mathematics. Now, within sacred mathematics, you got your geometry, you have your biogeometry. Because as above, so below, you're going to use that sacred mathematics to build your infrastructure and create a whole system of governance based on truth. That is what the Nakhti Mothership is all about. As much as you guys want to run into the devil system, after we have warned you several times that we will not bless that, and you will fall every time. We are not doing that. I mean, you can do whatever you want, right? But I'm just saying, like, when the spirits of our ancestors don't show up in it, and it falls apart, don't say we didn't want it, because we told you. Because we told you that we can't work. We don't. Our ancestors don't want to work with satanic wickedness, and wants to challenge it, and wants to take it over, and wants to get rid of it. Now, do a hostile takeover? Or we'll be so superior in knowledge and intellect and in our spirituality that it'll be evident that we are superior, and that their system will fall if they want to lock us out, which is what we see. They want to lock out the brilliance one, target genius, kill our prophets, kill our leaders, do discrediting campaigns to make our geniuses look crazy, aka me. Try to people that are telling the truth say that they fucking crazy and don't know shit. Y'all want to do that and let these pro niggas do that? And y'all follow it? To your prophets and to your genius and to your angels and guides? Okay. Everybody falls. But everything go. Bye. You go. You gotta go. You gotta go. This system gotta go. Y'all motherfuckers gotta go. And you gonna fall right with Babylon system. It's as simple as that. We ain't playing with y'all motherfuckers. We gave you orders. Ancient ones is back. Ancient ones is back, baby. And yes, I am Jenny Nunn Stanley. I am not possessed. I am not in quantum entanglement right now. And yes, I told y'all what was the octave of. I wouldn't have believed it anyways. But the frameworks are there. You don't have to follow me. The stuff is there. Our spirits are there, but our spirits are backing a certain regime. They're backing a certain paradigm. They are backing a primordial divine feminine energy. Our ancestors, the old Black American asses, Africans as well. The African ancestors are it's primordial ancient energy. It's not y'all gonna sit up there and try to go up and sit and go where you go into the Babylon system and continue to work with them, sign their contracts, do their bidding, go and target go turn on each other, work with them. That system is dying. And say we do get locked out. Say they want to continue doing their occult wars, occult rituals, come at our people, take out our chosen ones and do all this fuck shit. Their stuff falls. It just falls. Those things falls. I mean, we can go back to the fucking Dark Ages. I mean, some of us will survive. You want to go back to the medieval ages? I mean, just Rome fell. What did Rome? After Rome fell, it went into the fucking Dark Ages. Egypt fell. The shit went into fucking Hyksos and fucking Arabs took over. I mean, what do you guys want to do? Do you guys want the easy way or the hard way? We can transition this shit. We coming out in the open. Reptilians gonna be out in the motherfucking open. Primordial chaos beings gonna be out in the motherfucking open. It just is what the fuck it is. Nobody cares about that. It just is what it is. And you're getting mad and shit. They the ones that told y'all all these lies. They gotta tell you all the truth now. That's why we talking about the truth needs no proof. The truth needs no motherfucking proof. And so everything gotta come on the open. Ain't no motherfucking deep state and shadow and puppets and no. Power is power. If your power is legitimate or it's illegitimate. If you gotta control and lie to all these people and propagandize their ass and brainwash their ass and lie, that means your power is illegitimate. You don't have real power. If you have to lie, 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 lie. The truth needs no proof. Okay? The ancient ones is back. Black Americans, what is our truth based on? Evidentialism, causality, and sacred mathematics. Okay? So I'm gonna talk to you guys later. And I love you. Bye.
Are you ready for a mesmerizing linguistic journey? Step into the enchanting world of Tut language, an invaluable part of Black American heritage. Delve deep into this unique language where every word resonates with the rhythm of a resilient culture. Explore thoughtfully designed lessons that unravel the linguistic intricacies of Tut, from pronunciation variations to regional influences. Engage in interactive language games like word matching and pronunciation challenges that will deepen your understanding and sharpen your skills. Dive into live Tut bingo, historical and cultural role-play scenarios, and weekly open mic sessions featuring Tut music and poetry. Don't miss this incredible opportunity to celebrate culture and embrace language. Enroll now and start your Tut language adventure. Enroll now and receive 3 free Tut language books, thoughtfully created by colleague J.N.S. It's an invaluable addition to your learning experience.
Okay, so that was our presentation. So I'm gonna head up off of here. I want to do some commentary on that Oklahoma court decision to reject the Tulsa massacre survivors lawsuit. So I definitely want to talk about that. And ugh, that's a behemoth right there. Yeah, but I'll be back on here. I'm gonna just take a little break and I'll be back. You guys be easy. Love you.